Today, you're gonna learn. One of the topics that I see a lot of guys struggle with is that on these high-end race cars, it's really hard to keep the exhausts together. Like they crack and break all the time. And in this video, we're gonna teach you how to fix that once and for all like a pro. This will be one of the things that like the V8 boys can't relate to, you know, because they have like those 4, 5, 6 liter motors and all that, but they only rev out to like 4,500, 5 grand, you know, so they're not moving any air. Whereas when you have like them imports with the little motors, like when you're pushing serious power, like we're talking 250, 300 horse, you know, like you rev these things to the moon, you add boost, you run nitrous, whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not just a 2 liter, once you add boost, it's like a 4 liter, then you rev the thing super high, it's like moving like 16 liters, you know, so like all that air has to go somewhere and it goes through the exhaust, right? So every time you step on it, you basically put pressure through the exhaust, and to make the real serious power, you need a lot of back pressure, right? So these things just don't last. And in the case of mine, that thing was cracked in like 14 different places, but we got it all fixed up, and I'm going to show you how. So first, what you want to start with is, you saw the picture of my exhaust having all these cracks and stuff. You just take like flux or a stick welder or something, and you just like bake those all shut, you know, like there can't be any cracks. You just bake over those. And since this is an exhaust, right, there's gas flowing through it, you know, and you don't want to use like a gas welder because you don't know if those gases are compatible. All right, so once they're all welded up, you find yourself some stuff that's made out of metal, like see this like Husky wrench right there, and you just weld in a whole bunch of supports. Like here, a bunch of washers, you know. The more supports you weld in, the better, okay? Because that's going to keep it from expanding so much, and then it's not going to break again. So now what you're going to run into is, once you're done with all that welding, you've put so much heat into this exhaust that it starts like it gets all warped on you, you know. And so then you can't bolt it to the motor anymore. And that's where a lot of people get discouraged. But the truth is, it's super easy to fix, and that's what we're going to get into next. So we've established that this no longer fits on the car. And so when something don't fit, what you got to do is you got to cut it, right? So on this header, there's like 2 sides of it for the 2 sides of the motor, and we're just going to cut this one off. So we're going to look for a straight section in the primaries right here, and we're going to make a cut right here and probably right there. Alright, so we chopped this side of the header off, and obviously independent of each other, we know that they're going to bolt to the motor just fine. So now what's really the key ingredient here is like your fabrication skills on how you make those go back together in a way that they work. And so for this next segment, we're going to build us a jig to make sure the alignment's good. So now we're getting into the little more technical fabrication side of things. When you're trying to like get this header to work again, right, you're gonna need a good jig so that you can work off of a good platform. This car has a flat 4, so we need to make sure that that header's flat, all right? And you want something that's like parallelism, you know. So as you can see, like cinder blocks are really good for this because they're pretty precise, you know, and they're flat, and they're made of rock, right? And rock doesn't like bend or nothing, so you know. Shut up, Booster. That's Booster, our rooster. He thinks he runs this place or something. So where was I? Rock. Yes, hard. Good. And then the metal is also really important. So this is a magnet, right? And with all the magnetic radiation, this like sticks. Like, see, it sticks to the trailer? That's because the trailer is made of ferrous metal. Like the header doesn't stick to the header because this is a race car part, so this is stainless. So when you actually merge this back together, you need to make sure you're using compatible materials. We've established that this is stainless, right? And so this is where a lot of people will make mistakes and like skimp out on materials, and they would just like to klooch this back together with like something like duct tape or whatever, and you can't do that. This is where you actually have to spend some money, and you're gonna have to get yourself some metal tape, not duct tape, metal tape, you know. And got our magnet here, right? You can see this don't stick, right? So that means this is stainless aluminum, and that's going to be really good to seal off the exhaust gases so you don't have a leak. And it doesn't like it doesn't get in the way of like a our back pressure that we need to make all this power. Okay, so off camera, I was able to like fabricate this back together. And as you can see, this is solid, you know, because this is that metal tape I mentioned. And it's metal. So what's going to happen is the exhaust gets really hot, right? And then it cools off again, gets hot, cools off. So you're going to like heat cycle this, and it's going to harden, like work harden, you know. And this is going to be rock solid. But that's only after you heat it. First, when you bolt it to the car, this is going to have some flex to it. So you're going to be able to install the header now. As you can see, the header is back in the car up above me there, and now we just got to sort out the wiring of the sensors, and then we should be good to try starting this thing. Now that the header is installed on the car again, the last thing we got to do is the wiring. So there are two really important sensors on the exhaust that tell the motor how to run. So over here, I reached them up from the bottom. We've got the first one of them too. Okay. So here we go. Let me click that in. Click. So that's O1. And then over here, click O2. So both O's are in and we're ready to roll. So let me just tuck those wires up so they don't get burned on the header. Then we'll start her up. Now for the moment of truth. We're going to fire the car up and see if she runs. So I've spent so much time in this car, I can already hear that it's not leaking. This is all good. And check the scan gauge. There's no code for the O sensors, so that's all super fine. So yeah, and I hope this like helped you guys out, you know, because like racing's expensive enough as it is, man. Like if you get some high quality eBay headers or something, they're like $300-400, you know, and that tape's like 15. So good luck, guys.